We've got even more new JJK information from the exhibition going on in Japan right now, including some information on Nobara from Gege himself. So for anyone who's unaware or didn't see my previous video, there is currently a Jujutsu Kaisen exhibit going on in Japan, and it's essentially a pop-up museum. There is JJK information galore, which includes a lot of interview questions with Gege Akutami. So check out my previous video, I go over the majority of it, but as this is happening right now, we keep finding out more and more. And Lightning, who is a trusted translator in the JJK community, just put out a quick thread explaining a lot of the behind-the-scenes reveals from this exhibition. So we're going to go over it. Now, some of these things are things I already talked about in my previous video, but there's a lot of new stuff here too, so we're just going to go over all of it. And to start with, Yuji isn't the type of character who aspires to be somebody, not like the Hokage or Pirate King. And initially, Megami was supposed to be the main character, and Sumiki was also a part of Chapter 1, but that idea was scrapped after Gege reread it and found it boring. And in this initial concept, Yuji would have only been a supporting character to Megami with a weak relation to Sukuna, and both Yuji and Megami had completely different surnames in this version of the story. Also, Choso and Yuji were siblings with an idea of Choso killing Yuji and taking on his role. Additionally, in making Jujutsu Kaisen after JJK 0, Gege decided not to include Yuta to simplify the story, but Gojo as the mentor of the story was not going to be removed, as doing so would be like taking out All Might from My Hero Academia. Also in a previous version of the story, Nanami was going to be a bad guy, a curse user that killed civilians, still good at his desk work, and still complaining about it. Also, Geto was always intended to be a fake, but the identity wasn't decided upon until Shibuya. Yuki was also a candidate to be the vessel of Kenjaku. That's really interesting. And then here's where we got the bad news for the Nobara fans out there, because apparently Gege had already decided to kill off Nanami and Nobara in Shibuya before he even started the arc. And I find this just really interesting. Not the information itself, but just the fact that he revealed it here and now, because Nobara's fate has been left vague and ambiguous for literal years. So it's just really surprising to me that he would just kind of nonchalantly drop this here. So, I honestly could care less. I know people are going to say this next part is copium, but it's not, because if she's gone, she's gone. But I just don't know if I fully buy this, because why wait so long and then reveal this, It feels like, I don't know, not that it's misdirection, but I just maybe wouldn't put too much weight into this. Anyways, I would say it definitely is leaning that Nobara's gone, but I'd still say there's a small chance, because that's not something Gege would, ruin at this point, right? Anyways, he also revealed that Mei didn't die because characters who don't have the appeal to make readers sad when they die don't need to die, right? And I agree with that. It's just good writing. You don't want to just kill off random characters because there's no emotional impact there. Also, he revealed that the Geto group caught in the Jogo versus Sukuna battle died, but Kusakabe and Panda didn't. And finally, Gege wanted to make the culling game more like a Gojo rescue arc through a tournament-esque setup. I actually talked about this in my previous video, that one of Gege's biggest regrets is that he didn't do the culling games more like a tournament. So he considers the lack of the culling games rules in battles, and also the lack of his development of Sumiki as a character, to be failures on his part. But he was glad to have at least allowed Yuji and Sumiki to meet. And then he said Kashimo was originally intended to be more of a serial killer psychopath with a scythe. So that's really cool. I wonder if he's got any sketches of that version of him. And then this is something I talked about in the previous video as well, but Gege was planning on drawing a death portrait of Gojo for Volume 26's cover, but came up empty-handed. And this is interesting because it's slightly different than the translation I heard earlier. But also he planned to draw the camellia flower, but Gojo lost, so he ended up with another camellia flower that looks similar to it. So if you saw my previous video, the translation we were given is that Volume 26's cover was Gojo's death portrait, and clearly that's still the idea here. So, this isn't, any new hopium or anything, but this also is weird, because this is the same translation, that Gege wanted to use the camellia flower that represents rebirth, but since he lost, he had to use another flower. And it's like, what do you mean since he lost? You're the one that wrote it. So I wish, like, maybe we can get some more nuance in exactly how the flow of this conversation went, but it's interesting. And then finally, Gege comments on the art where he says, even if he thinks it might be good, there are times when he feels it doesn't match the reader's expectations, and vice versa. And he also thinks that he can draw better on the Jump covers without forcing himself, and that sometimes his assistants do the coloring on those. So that is all the Gege information for now, but we may have even more coming. Specifically, this account Infinity Exists over on Twitter is apparently in contact with somebody that is actually going to the event, or maybe they themselves are. I'm not really clear on that, but they say that they will have HD photos of all of the things in the exhibits, and at some point, all of Gege's statements translated as well. So when that comes out, if there's enough new stuff for it to make sense for me to make a new video, I definitely will. And if you guys want me to make a video when the images and stuff are released, let me know down below and I can do that as well. Now we do actually have a little bit of that, so I will share it very quickly, but the images shared so far aren't in high quality, so they're not really worth sharing, but some of the information is still interesting. So as Infinity puts it here, at the end of the exhibition, there is a room called Color Sketches, where Gege's work and thoughts in creating the JJK universe itself are explained. And there are 2 art blocks dedicated to Higuruma and Hikari, and they are both huge, but Higuruma's block is unimaginably huge. Gege apparently really loves Higuruma. So for context, here is a picture of what Hikari's section looks like. And then here's Higuruma's. I mean, it's like a whole damn encyclopedia here. And you know what? I wish I could read every word of it. So maybe if we get high enough quality images, we can dive into this stuff too. And then the only other thing Infinity has shared thus far is these kind of sketches and images of the Choso versus Kenjaku fight. And I know they're tiny, but trust me, it's low quality, so it's not worth it at this point. But again, if we get the high quality ones, I can make a video about those as well. And you know what? Speaking of Choso, the thing I keep thinking about is that previous version of JJK where Choso actually kills Yuji in this fight. And maybe I shouldn't say this fight because maybe it wouldn't have played out exactly the same way. But I presume when Choso killed Yuji, it would have been about his brothers, just like this fight was here. But man, that would have been such a crazy and dark turn for the story. And granted, in that version, Yuji would have been the side character with Megami being the main character, but still, that would have just been absolutely crazy. You know, with as dark and twisted as Gege gets, you know, stabbing us right in the heart, I'm glad he at least didn't do this to us, and we got to have them have kind of that brotherly bond develop instead. Anyways, y'all, that's all for this one. Let me know your thoughts on all of these what-if JJK scenarios, and let me know about this Nobara information, actually, because it's still just so weird to me. Like, why now? Why after years of keeping us in the dark on what was going on with her, does he just drop this randomly now? I can't get over it. And again, it's not copium. I promise you it's not. I just think it's supremely weird. So let me know y'all's thoughts on that. And again, sorry for all the videos blowing up about this exhibition stuff, but I find it interesting, so hopefully you guys do too as well. And if there is new stuff, I'll keep you guys posted. And as always, thank you for watching.